We got Jonas from Dwellsy on the call here today, and Dwellsy.com is a platform where you can list your apartments for rent. And I'm simplifying it here, but we're going to dive a little deeper on that. I really appreciate your time, Jonas.
Jack, it's a pleasure to be here, and it really is that simple. So happy you went there.
So, well, let's start things off. Like you've had 20 years of real estate experience.
hmm
Like
hmm
I don't want to go too deep into it because I'm sure everybody can just kind of look up your background on your
hmm
website, but like what caused you to build a platform like this?
It was really, it's not very often you see a market fail and you're right up close and personal to see that happen. But I actually had that opportunity and that chance. I was working at a place called Essex Property Trust, which is a REIT that owns and operates about 60,000 units. And I got to see right up close and personal the market dramatically shift. It used to be that we got a lot of our units, in many cases, 50% or more of our units rented via Craigslist. That's where we got our highest quality leads. And that was how most of the business worked. We had people at every one of our properties listing the properties, any available unit we had on Craigslist, and people would find us there. And that lead flow went to almost zero over the course of a couple of years. And talking to renters at our properties, talking to our leasing staff, everybody struggled with that transition. I had responsibility for the marketing team and a bunch of other functions there. And I saw that we really struggle with that transition from a property manager and from an owner standpoint. And the renters really struggled with that transition. Renters couldn't figure out how to find places anymore. The way that the market had worked for a long, long time had changed dramatically. And the way for us that it had worked had changed dramatically. And there was no easy option to go to after that. The classic advertising platforms, the ILSs, massively raised prices on us. That was incredibly frustrating. Going to Google and other tools for SEO, SEM, oh my God, that was difficult, incredibly challenging for us to transition to use those platforms. There just didn't seem to be a good option that worked well. And after trying to get a few other people to start this, I realized nobody was going to do it. So we had to do it ourselves. And that was the brainchild behind launching Dwellsy. That was really the moment that we realized it had to be created. That was about 3 years ago. Been working on it since then.
Sure. Well, I mean, let's face fact. We talked about this a little bit before we jumped on the call. There's quite a few platforms that are kind of competing in this area now for our attention as landlords. Everybody wants our listings. Some of our, I use rentready.com, for example, as my management platform. And sometimes they have a service that submits my listings to a couple places, but in the end, like, can you tell us a little bit about what makes yours stand out versus some of these other platforms?
Yeah, so it's a little bit opaque to landlords a lot of times. How things are actually working on the other end. I think there's a little bit of an illusion of choice. There's three major listing platforms out there. There's the CoStar Network, which owns Apartments.com and a bunch of others. There's the Zillow Network, which owns Zillow and Trulia and a bunch of other platforms. And then there's the Redfin platform, which owns Rent.com and Apartment Guide and a bunch of other platforms. There's a couple of others, but those are the three majors that control the majority of the platforms out there. So when you're paying for listings, most of the time, that's where you're ending up. And those folks do a good job of providing paid listing services for folks. And they serve, top 10, 15% of listers quite well. And then there's, some other odds and ends out there, but that's really the majority of where paid online listings end up. And there's not really that much else out there. There's a long list of regional sites and, kind of tiny little sites that are out there, but there's nothing really national at scale that operates the way Dwellsy is operating, which is on a completely different foundation. There's really just a lot of people who are selling leads or selling leases or trying to sell that traffic in one way or another. And we're really flipping that model on its head and trying to take a very different approach. So if you're using a service like Rent Ready, they're usually doing a syndication platform and pushing that traffic to one platform or another. And in some cases, they've cut some deals which allow some free options. In a lot of cases, they'll sell you an upgraded option which allows for paid placement on one of those platforms that I mentioned. Usually, the free options don't offer you a lot of traffic. The paid options will definitely get you some traffic at a cost. And that's generally how it has worked historically. What we're working for at Dwellsy is a free option that will get you your place rented with high quality leads that make good use of your time.
Mm-hmm. So, with all that being said, like, could you talk about the experience associated with this on the? Let's start with the landlord side. I mean, that's what we're
Yeah.
mostly interested, or who you're talking to right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you say the experience side, do you mean the experience of getting a property listed or the experience of
Yeah,
getting? Yeah,
and
yeah.
and do you and you know, a lot of us are looking for the easiest path. So,
Yes.
do you currently have like some sort of integrations or some way to list your apartments pretty quick and easy?
We do. Yeah. No, that's at the core. There's one thing I learned from doing battle with Craigslist over the years. It's we got to make this easy. And so right from the beginning, coming from the industry, having been multifamily operator and having been a small scale manager myself, I once had 8 units that I managed of my own. I know how it is to operate at small scale and at large scale, and I know the importance of managing your own time and being able to do the things that are easy. So we've been actively building integrations with property management software platforms from the beginning. We now have 17 of them. So I'm trying to remember if we have Rent Ready. I know we've talked to them. I can't remember if it's active or not. But we have many, many of them, including Appfolio, Buildium, for people who are using, small scale property management software platforms. We have larger scale ones like Entrata, Yardi, and many others. So we're working to have every single property management software platform, and where we can, trying to make it so that every available listing on those platforms shows up automatically on Dwellsy, so that the property manager who's operating their unit doesn't even have to think about it. They just get a free listing, and it's just included as part of their property management software purchase. And it's something that they get, free high quality leads just as part of that overall process. Once they indicate to their property management software that they have an availability, they start getting lead flow right away.
Mm-hmm.
So trying to
So
make it that easy. If they're not using property management software, we have an online listing tool that they can go through to list directly with Dwellsy.
Okay. And then it's just a simple process, fill out the form, upload the photos, and off you go.
Exactly. Yeah, we've made it a very easy and intuitive step-by-step process, with the caveat that process has been the single biggest source of fraud in our industry. And as your audience will be well aware, fraud in the space is catastrophic. And so we have taken a fraud zero approach of real ownership over the fraud issue in the space. Buyer beware is not good enough. We need to create a safe and secure environment for all of the transactors in this space, landlords and renters. And so we have created a safe environment in which landlords can trust that they are transacting with a real person who genuinely wants to rent their unit, and renters can trust that they are transacting with a real landlord, not somebody who is trying to scam them.
Yeah, that's actually, I don't know if you know this, but I'm up near Fargo, North Dakota.
Oh,
And
fabulous. That was
and we
actually,
even
Minot was our first test market, actually. So
Oh, yeah,
we
cool.
love North Dakota. Yeah.
Well, the reason I bring it up is that it sounds like something that you're talking about, regarding the fraud. I mean,
Yep.
we are typically the last part of the world, or the part of the US that experiences that type of fraud, but we're even seeing it in Fargo.
Yeah. It's
People
everywhere.
taking advantage of those situations. And you brought up Craigslist. I'm actually really, it's interesting how little how quickly Craigslist fell to the wayside when it comes to rental properties. In fact, I don't know anybody anymore in my market that uses it anymore.
Yeah. It was staggering to me. As I mentioned, I was running the marketing team for this big portfolio, 60,000 apartments. And we had to get 30,000 units rented each year. So it's a big enough portfolio that you can really see a market shift. And as I mentioned, Craigslist was probably half of our lead volume across that portfolio, and our highest quality leads, generally speaking, too. Somebody coming in through that channel was high intent, good quality lead. And in 2016, middle of 2016, that was the case. By the end of 2018, it had gone to so close to zero that we weren't sure if we were getting any material value from Craigslist anymore. It happened that quickly.
Wow.
And it was full panic for us, really, at that time, trying to figure out, oh my goodness,
Yeah.
how are we going to make this how are we going to fix this? How are we going to make this? How are we going to replace that lead volume in
Mhm.
any kind of efficient way? The way this business works. It's tight margin business. It's not like we're all sitting around with tons of extra money and tons of extra time to make this happen. It's not easy to get high quality lead volume.
Sure.
It's difficult, time consuming, expensive to get that job done. So backfilling that was really challenging.
So let's talk a little bit about the experience for
Mm-hmm.
the renter. Like they come and
Yeah.
look for an apartment. What's different? Like
Yeah.
regarding that process.
The biggest challenge for the renter today is that you go out, and Amazon has trained us all that you can go to a single place and you can shop for just about anything you might want, and you can find it. Google has trained us all that you can go and put something in the search box, and you can come up with pretty much anything you want and find it relatively quickly. And one of the few places where that does not exist is with the search for a rental home. Everybody pretty much starts at Google and they search. And, one of the few brands that we talked about earlier, apartments.com, rent.com, one of those folks comes up on the first page of search results, and they go to those and they find out pretty quickly that there's a few multifamily properties that show up over and over and over and over again and nothing else. And they find out very quickly that unless they're looking for one of those properties, which some people are, that they're not going to find much help online, and that they need to figure out something else. So they get in their car, they strap on their shoes, and go out and walk a neighborhood and go look for rent signs, just the old-fashioned way. It's really difficult. What they want is they want a single online source that lists all of the available rentals. And there is nothing available today that has that. Dwellsy is the closest thing to that today. We have about 25% of the available rental inventory in the country, and we're growing very rapidly. It's our goal to have every available rental unit in the country on our platform. We've worked very hard to remove all barriers to people listing with us. Any rental listing, platform owner, operator, property manager in the country can list with us. It's completely free of charge. There's no contract. It's super easy, and it's our goal to have every available listing in the country, and that makes for the primary thing that renters want is they want to see what's available and use that as their starting point so they can evaluate what might be appropriate for them and what might help them. I hear dog in the background, right? They've got a dog. They need to find a place that can take their dog. They need the information about their dog. So helping them be able to search amenities and things that might be appropriate for them, for their needs, for their family's needs. So that's the next thing, being able to search and understand the amenities of the property. So, up to us to be able to provide them with great information. When I say us, I mean not just Dwellsy, but landlords we work with. Providing full information about the amenities serves two purposes. It doesn't just make a better experience for the renter, it makes for a higher quality lead for the landlord and saves the landlord a lot of time. You don't have to spend a lot of time explaining to people why you won't take their dog. You can just tell them up front, hey, I'm sorry, I don't take dogs over 75 pounds, or I only take one dog. And then you don't have to take that call from somebody. Much more efficient use of everybody's time. So getting that full information out there really helps everybody involved. So we got to work to do that and make for that much better experience. Lots of other stuff to provide a great experience for renters, but that's really what we're seeking to do. It's not necessarily rocket science. It's just providing a great consumer shopping experience for renters, which I don't think anybody has ever tried to do before. And we're the first ones trying to do that. And we're pretty excited about the potential.
So just a reminder, everybody, head over to dwellsy.com and you might as well set up an account now and check it out. Just
Please do.
why not? As we're chatting here, because one of the things that I think we probably should cover is, you said it's free for landlords. How does Dwellsy make money?
Yeah. So we make money in a bunch of different ways. So we have premium products available for renters today. So it's a product that provides them with a bunch of different benefits. So there's tools that help them have a better experience in their rental search, everything from early access to the newest rentals, as well as some fraud protection tools, and everything right down to a free dog walk that we've gotten from one of our partners. So there's a bunch of things in that bundle for them. We have a new product that's coming soon that's going to provide a similar bundle of benefits to small scale landlords, people who are operating a couple of units. So that'll be coming in the next couple of months. We have advertising on the site. There's a variety of other things that are coming down the pipe down the road. that we'll be offering that'll be unveiled later in 2022 and beyond. But
Sure.
that's the business model. Very different. And I think one of the things everybody's been very fixated on, selling of leads. It's not a very big business. And so, offering that service for free is not that much of a sacrifice. I think there's a much bigger opportunity out there by serving the 110 million renters and the 10 million individual landlords. I think those folks need a lot of help. It's the biggest financial decision that most of those people make each year is signing that lease. And I think if we can make everybody involved have a much better experience getting up to that point, there's a lot of value creation opportunity. And I think we can really help all those folks out, make that decision with confidence. It's a great opportunity. We're really excited about it.
So since you have a quarter of the rentals on your site
Mm-hmm.
already,
Mm-hmm.
you have a lot of information. So
Mm-hmm.
what are some of the trends
Oh
you're
boy.
seeing right now that we could
Yeah.
maybe take advantage of? Give us some
Oh,
insight.
yeah. Taking advantage of it. There are so many overlapping trends. I have never seen a market like this, Jack. I have been watching this market for 2 decades now, and I have never seen an environment like this. So, first of all, the trend that cannot be underlined enough right now is single family housing. What is happening in single family rentals today? I've never seen a transformation like this in my career. Single family, it's not just about institutions buying single family homes and transforming them into rentals. It is a transformation of that into the most desired rental asset class in the country. To give you an illustration of that, we look at rents across the country, and we're the only platform that's tracking single family housing rents as opposed to apartment rents. Over the past year, single family home rents are up 36%. Apartment rents are up 5.6%. 36% versus 5.6%. That shows you the level of demand for single family rentals versus apartment rentals. The level of demand for single family homes is extraordinary right now. And frankly, I don't see that changing anytime soon. The reasons for that demand are solid, are not changing anytime soon. I don't think, I'm working from home right now. And I'm guessing you are as well. I don't think anybody, the trends that we're seeing right now of 40% office occupancy at most in most major cities are not changing anytime soon. I think we're realizing that whether we like it or not, this is a new way of working that is changing how our cities are going to work going forward. And in order to accommodate that, we all need more space at home. And we're all thinking differently about the places we want to live as a result. And that means a lot more single family homes and a lot fewer apartments. And when we think about apartments, that means bigger apartments. And the implication of that for all of us who are in this business is pretty significant. So it means as you think about investment in new properties, think about those single family rental homes and the potential for those. Think about those secondary markets and the potential for not just the fancy secondary markets like the Austins and the Boise's, but also the next markets. Where does the person from Austin move to when they're looking to downgrade to a lower cost market? The person from San Francisco moves to Austin. Where does the person from Austin move to? Right. So thinking that next step down the road in terms of markets, I think is a really interesting question. And then with apartments, people need more space. You need, now it's not enough to have a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. You need a 2-bedroom plus den because you need a work from home setup. Maybe you need 2 dens because, a couple working from home needs 2 dens to have 2 work from home setups. So rethinking how apartments work is, I think, a really interesting question.
No, that's interesting. So with the single family homes, what do you think is the ideal layout for them then, especially regarding to time on market, like for is it the 3-bedroom 2-bath still, or is it something different?
Well, I think we're seeing the homes get bigger. That's been a macro trend for 30, 40 years now. So that's not a new trend, but I think people are really embracing those bigger homes. It's funny, I've had a partnership with a reporter in Albuquerque who's helped us think through some of our early data that we've been using to support reporters. And he was very interested in, one bedroom, two bedroom, three bedroom stuff. And we realized we were missing a big piece of what was happening in the market because of all the action in the four bedroom and five bedroom space, and how much demand there was for those assets, and how important those were for the overall market, because people really do need that extra space. It's not just about having a couple of extra kids, but now you need that bedroom for that home office in a way you didn't before. It's not like you're using it occasionally because you have to be home for, wait for the cable guy or something. It's you're working from home all the time, and it's a very different use case that means you need more square footage.
Right. So have you found like any attraction for listings that have like any other amenities that sometimes it seems like in some markets there's even a focus on energy efficiency and a few other things?
Yeah, it's the amenities wars have been a very funny thing, right? Because amenities get places rented, but amenities very rarely get used after that fact. It's a little bit of the dirty secret of rentals, is that all of these amenities look great, but then they're very lightly used after somebody moves in to a place, particularly during COVID. And oftentimes during COVID, the amenities have turned out to be a key source of friction with renters, because the amenities, which weren't used that much, were then taken away. So people who weren't actually planning to use an amenity couldn't use an amenity. And then they were upset because they decided that they wanted to use the amenity that they no longer had access to. And so it became a source of friction. So I think the best amenities remain the most flexible amenities, the ones that can be put to the most flexible use, the yoga rooms, those kinds of tools that can be repurposed for a lot of different things. If you're talking about a bigger community, if you're talking about a smaller scale investment, thinking about things that are pet centric, those continue to be really valued by the renter who is really focused on their pet's needs, and particularly for the renter who is looking at a smaller property. Often it's a big differentiator to have that renter feel the full embrace for their pet, because the large property owners and managers have figured out that they need to embrace the pets, but a lot of smaller owners and managers haven't figured that out yet. So that can be a big differentiator, and a big, honestly, it can help you get a lot of extra rent, is really embracing the pets. So coming up with pet-friendly amenities, even just, as simple as thinking through where the pets are going to do their business and making sure you make that clear to folks.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned being trying to become the Amazon of apartment rentals.
Your words, not mine, but
well, okay. Well, you said you got 25% of them already. I mean, that's a pretty big that's a pretty big share. What does a person have to do, like a landlord have to do to stand out? Like you go to Amazon, for example, and I recently tried to find, I had to get new clamps for my pickup truck for the battery terminal. And I got like pages and pages of like, I didn't even know what I was like. Okay, I just want one. I don't just like what can a landlord do to stand out? Like, what are some of the things they should apply to their listing to make it?
Jack, it's such a good it's such a good question, and it's one of the reasons why I don't like to say, we really don't want to be the Amazon of rentals. And it's nothing against Amazon; they do a great job. I spend way too much money on Amazon, but it's just because we're in such a different business, and the reality of homes, rental apartments, rental houses, is that each one is unique, and each renter's needs are unique. So, the spaces that I think we are much more like is actually, it's more like the job search world. You think about LinkedIn, or you think about the dating world. You think about Match.com. It's much more like that kind of business where each opportunity is completely unique. And so, what do you need to do to stand out in that world? Well, you are trying to match, if you will, with that renter who is overvaluing your place, that renter for whom your place is exactly right for them. because you love their dog as much as they love your dog. Your place is closest to the places that they need to be close to. Your place has the space that they need, the finishes that they love, and you've given them full information about it so that they can self-identify as the person who loves your place most. Right? That's really what you're trying to do as a landlord, is make your place stand out to the person who values your place most. And so really what you can do as a landlord is provide the fullest possible information about your place, great quality images, and that way you are going to select, by doing so, the people who have the best fit, and you are going to select out the people who are the least well suited for your place, and thereby make the best use of your time in that process. And that's really going to help you, because the renters on the other side are really smart about using their time, and they are using the filters on Dwellsy to winnow down through an enormous number of units. And we help them out a tremendous amount. We help them out by having pure organic search. We are the only platform on the internet that actually just shows them what they are looking for and nothing else. You cannot buy placement on Dwellsy, so we're only showing them what they are looking for, and nothing else. We are only showing them things that they filter for, and they get in there and they start using the filters right away, and they put in the price filters, they put in location filters, they start filtering down for people, for properties that will have the amenities that they need and want, and they start doing that right away. So the more information we have, the more likely you are to show up, your unit is to show up in their search, and that will make all the difference to whether or not you show up. And I've sat with hundreds and hundreds of renters as they do their search on Dwellsy, and I can tell you, by the time they put in all of their units, our hundreds of thousands of available listings get down to only a handful that meet their need. And that, ultimately, the landlords that stand out are the ones that do a good job representing their unit accurately, and with full information.
So it's probably good to be fairly detailed with your listing then.
Yes. And look, I'm not saying go to the end of the earth and, write a full, huge essay. Really take full advantage of the structured data in your property management software. Check the boxes that need to be checked. If you've got a dishwasher, check the darn box, please. Like, people are searching for that stuff. Get the value for it. If you don't check the box, you're not going to get the rent. So check the box, and that makes sure you get paid for what for the work you've done, the investment you've made in your property. You got to check the box to make sure you get value for that in the rental process. If you don't check the box, you're less likely to get the value for it. And as investors, you want to get the value for the money you've invested in the property. And if you don't market it, you're not going to get the value for it. Sure. I've seen this, poorly marketed. We used to talk about this for years and years. A properly marketed property, we might look at it, and you can never take, if a property is a $2,000 rental, you can take a $2,000 rental and you can market it badly and get $1,600 for it. You can do a really lousy job of putting the word out and poor quality photos and not sharing all the details, and not making it available in platforms where people can find it. And you can just underperform. And we've seen it happen over and over and over again, where you get below market rents just purely because of an unforced error. And it can go the other way too, where you get that, you market the heck out of something, and you can get 2,000 full value, and sometimes you can even get a little bit more for that because you've done all the right stuff. So there is real value for the landlord in properly marketing a property.
You bring up the value. Do you provide any tools for the landlord to make sure that they're pricing their rental property?
Watch the space. Coming soon.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. I have a rental property in a small town in particular, and there's no rental units available, and it's really been hard to figure out like what's the value there. So how about video walkthroughs, and what kind of value does that bring to a listing?
Yeah, renters love video walkthroughs. Those are super valuable for folks. They really actually they do not have to be fancy. You actually get value for them being more candid and not fancy, which is one of the gifts of the time in which we're operating. The less fancy they are, the more genuine they appear, and more people feel like, hey, this is a real person giving me a real tour. Turn the water on in the shower so they can see the water pressure. Show them the inside of the dishwasher so they can see that it's genuinely clean. Show them all of the ins and outs of the place. I think it's a great thing to do. It should be, if you can push it out through your property management software, that's great. If you can't, site like Dwellsy, you can post that to your listing. But renters love that kind of content. Push it out via TikTok too. It's a great way to advertise.
Sure. Well, Jonas, this has been a great conversation. I appreciate the insight. Again, head over to dwellsy.com. That's DWELLSY.com. Like I said, why not set up an account and start posting there as well? I mean, if you have that many listings already on your site, I'm guessing that you have a lot of renters coming your way as well. And it's all about days on market for a landlord. We want to get those rentals as filled as quickly as possible. So more eyes, the better. Before I let you go, Jonas, is there a question or concept you wished we would have covered here today?
Jack, we covered some pretty great territory. I think the key is we talked about structured data, and I never really explained what that was. I think it's important. A lot of us were trained by Craigslist to write these long form pieces. It's really nice to write a long story about why your place is great. Sure, include that in your rental listing, but make sure you are checking the boxes. That's the structured data that I was referring to say, check dishwasher, check hardwood floors, check all of those other things. That kind of structured data makes your listing searchable for the renter. That stuff's really important.
No, I appreciate you pointing that out. And I think a lot of people, I think there's this concept of keywords and everything. And sometimes we jam the description area with a ton of content where it's better suited to check those boxes, like you said.
Yes. And incidentally, that keyword concept, as I have learned and gotten smarter about SEO, that keyword concept is a 7 or 8 year old SEO concept that is no more. So don't jam the keywords. Click the boxes, create the structured data. Write your long form if you want. That's helpful. Renters love a good story. But click the boxes, create the structured data, make your listing searchable. That's the way you're going to find renters who are most interested in your property.
So, well, Jonas, I appreciate it. You're welcome back anytime. I hope you'll take me up on that.
Absolutely, Jack. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.